So a lot of things happening in the schools that your kids may be going to if they've got their acceptance letter to college. You need to talk to them about what they're going to encounter here. Caleb Kruckenberg is an attorney for the New Civil Liberties Alliance. And Caleb, I appreciate you joining us. What is going on with allegations of sexual misconduct in universities? No longer are we going to take that to a court or adjudicate it. It's going to be a bureaucratic ruling that could really derail somebody's life. To explain to me what's going on.
Well, thanks for having me.
Sure.
Under the Obama administration, the Department of Education sent around this letter to colleges around the country, basically saying that when students or faculty are accused of sexual misconduct, colleges have to take away any kind of protections, any kind of procedural protections for the accused. Like, they're not allowed to have a high burden of proof. They're not allowed to question the people who make accusations against them. And so what happened under the Obama administration, colleges changed their policies, and they really set up what former Secretary of Education DeVos said were kangaroo courts. Over the last 4 years, there was a recognition that this was completely unfair. And there was an effort by the administration to put back some of these protections. But now that we have the change of administration, the Department of Education has said again, oh, no, we're going to go back. We're going back. We're going to make sure that if a male student or faculty member is accused of doing something wrong, we're going to guarantee we find something. We're going to guarantee they're punished, no matter what they did.
And there's no defense to that? I mean, okay, somebody's hyper-aggressive in trying to prosecute you or go after you. I don't know that I want some faculty court adjudicating this, but can I not defend myself if someone makes that accusation?
Well, it's really designed to make sure that you can't. And that's really the point, is there's this perception that, there's widespread misconduct. And so the idea is we want to try to change the system to make sure that if anybody makes an accusation, you're guaranteed to be found responsible. And so they do things like they make sure you don't have access to the accusations against you. You don't know exactly what you're accused of doing.
That's a pretty fundamental aspect of American jurisprudence, is that you know what your charge is and you can face your accuser.
Right, and if you don't know what you're supposed to have done wrong and you can't even ask the person who's accusing you of doing something wrong, how are you supposed to mount a defense? How are you supposed to prove otherwise? And really what the idea is it's set up to make sure that you're found responsible, because you have to prove your innocence, even if you don't know what you're accused of doing.
Now, do schools get a pass for this? Are they allowed to kind of turn over, 4 centuries of Western legal jurisprudence to establish their own way of adjudicating right and wrong?
Well, so schools are put in a really awkward position by the Department of Education, because the department says, if you don't put through these really unfair processes, we're going to pull your federal funding. And so they bully the schools into changing, and they bully the schools into violating people's rights. And then the only recourse you have as a student or someone who's gone through this process is you can sue them afterward, after they've ruined your life. And a lot of students have done that, and a lot of students have successfully sued these colleges because it is unfair and it is a constitutional violation, because most schools, especially state schools, they have to follow the Constitution. They can't just kick you out of school without any process.
But in the meantime, the clock is running on your life. It's costing you a fortune, hypothetically, for attorneys, if you get anybody who's worth a darn. And the potential media coverage surrounding this, or your name appearing in social media, gosh, I can imagine going in with no experience at the age of 22 or 23 looking for a job. I would think most employers would do one Google search and say, yeah, let's not touch this kid.
That's absolutely right. And once, you're trying to put, you're trying to unring the bell, because you're absolutely right. The school has gone around and branded you a sexual abuser. And then the only thing you can do is try to sue them, try to get that taken away. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there are so many people whose lives have already been ruined. I represent a former faculty member at Cornell University who went through this process. And, he had a student who understood that Title IX adjudication, these disciplinary processes, it's a weapon. If you have a grudge against someone, you can go through this process and you're guaranteed to ruin their life.
Unbelievable. When with a society that really has lost all sense of honor, don't tell a lie. I just don't think that's a part of the American moral code anymore. This is a real problem. I appreciate you flagging it for us, not only so maybe we can do something legislatively and push back politically, but also as a warning for all the parents who are about to send their kids off to college next year, assuming that it's going to be the experience they had 20 or 30 years ago. It may not be, and you need to talk to your kids on the front end to try to prevent them from being in a spot like this. Caleb Kruckenberg, attorney for the New Civil Liberties Alliance. You should check him out. Caleb, thanks for coming on and talking about it.
Thanks a lot.
7:45. Man, we'll come back.